Super Bowl 60 is fast approaching, and you can bet on every moment of Super Bowl glory. Every trip to that end zone matters more than ever, as the Seahawks and the Patriots are going head-to-head. And DraftKings Sportsbook has all your favorite ways to bet touchdowns for Super Bowl 60. The next great Super Bowl touchdown is coming, and you can bet on every moment of glory. New customers, bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Use the code Sonnen. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Stay in on the action and use your bonus bets on DraftKings same game parlays for a shot at an even bigger payout. Love the thrill of live betting? Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. If sports betting is not yet available in your state, don't worry. You can still join in on all the fun with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports and have a shot to win cash prizes. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. New customers, use my promo code Sonnen and bet just $5 on any wager and get $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. That's promo code Sonnen only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Waldo called for an interim championship bout at heavyweight. He said, it's about time we do an interim title at heavyweight. It's not a terrible point. It is one that I've thought about too. What do? We just don't have clarity on that. We don't have what the parameters are. Jack Tunney, commissioner of the WWF, what you now know as WWE, back in the 1980s, had very clear parameters, and a champion had to defend within 12 months. Boxing has some type of parameters where a champion must defend, and I think it's 12 months, or he gets labeled a closet champion and they take the belt off him. And it happens quite often. Guy gets in a contract dispute, whatever the case may be, he doesn't want to fight a certain guy, whatever it may be, there is a time period. We don't have that in the UFC, and it is an interesting case. Like, if a guy's hurt, we have seen where we will show him grace. Tom's situation is very different. Tom was not just hurt as your undisputed champion. Tom was hurt in your ring as the undisputed champion. That's a different situation. Like, if you're going to show somebody grace, it's him. But we're not suggesting, see, and this is part of what Waldo said, we're not suggesting that we strip Tom. Tom remains undisputed champion. What Waldo is suggesting is that in the meanwhile, we keep the morale and the motivation moving along, and we do an interim title. An interim title is very interesting to me. I don't know how long Tom is going to be out for. My message to Tom is just simply get well. Eyes are nothing to take lightly. But the idea that we've got to move on at some point does sound right. The idea that we're going to rematch Tom and Ciryl, and that's just the way it is, that's also something that I resist just slightly. The first fight was the worst pay-per-view by a factor of 3. That means if you took the next worst pay-per-view of last year, okay, if you divide it by 3, that's what Tom versus Ciryl did. Now, there's a little bit more to that. It was aired at 11 in the morning, where I live. It was aired 2 o'clock in the afternoon Eastern time. So there's reasons that people didn't know to tune in, but I'm only sharing for you. Nobody asked for that fight. And the second fight is much bigger. People will be wanting to see that, but that's a time issue. You go put another 4 or 5 months, it really is not the same thing, in all fairness. It's just not. It doesn't have that same heat. It doesn't have that same buzz. I can just picture myself, whose job it is to bring and tell you guys the story. I'm going to have to remind you of something that happened last year. That's not the world's easiest thing to do. So first off, I do resist the idea of Tom versus Ciryl. We can do it, but we don't need to hold up Ciryl. There was many people that questioned whether Ciryl was the rightful #1 contender in the first place, which would lead you to believe that there's no reason to wait. And by the way, perhaps Ciryl becomes part of the interim title fight. Like, it's not an anti-Ciryl piece. I'm just sharing for you that I'm not clinging to the idea that we must preserve Tom versus Ciryl. If you got one crack at John Jones, you interrupt that fight instantly, in my opinion. If Pierre was to move up, you would have argument to interrupt that fight instantly. Now, before we go down that road, there is a time issue. I mean, Ilia Toporia's last fight was not terribly long before Tom's last fight. And the announcement that we were going to interim Ilia's belt came out 2 months ago. So are we within 2 months? If we don't have a return date by our champion, are we within 2 months? Or does one have nothing to do with the other? And historically speaking, I'm well aware that one usually has nothing to do with the other. But at some point, Waldo does make a fair point. I have never seen the heavyweight division like this, by the way. There was a hot mic moment caught between Tom Aspinall and Daniel Cormier. Hot mic meaning Daniel was mic'd up. He didn't know that this was... He forgot that he was mic'd up. He didn't know that this was going to go out to the world. Daniel said, man, get past Ciryl, and this is smooth sailing. This division's terrible. And I don't mean to put down the heavyweights, but there's really not... They're terrible. It is a terrible division. We have one wrestler under contract. He also happens to be undefeated. His name is Josh Hockett. There is one NCAA wrestler. There is one NCAA All-American under contract. Both of those distinctions go to the same guy, which is Josh Hockett. And there's never been a time in the UFC like that. There's never been a time where wrestling specifically, the most successful discipline in the history of martial arts, is completely unrepresented, save one example. And by the way, that guy is completely undefeated. So what do? Right? It's not as simple as you think. Like, a lot of times when you do an interim belt, it's because there's a really big fight that almost can't be justified without a belt. Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira. The 45-pound undefeated champion versus the former 55-pound number one ranked. I mean, it would be weird to do that fight and not have some kind of a belt. And do we have that at heavyweight? Like, the one thing that Waldo's claim is missing, and I'm this close to backing him, but the one thing that I'm missing, like, that is something that we need to consider. The one thing that we're missing, what fight is it that you believe should be a championship fight at heavyweight? What two heavyweights do you believe should be fighting for a title? What two heavyweights are on the cusp of glory, the cusp of beginning their legacy, that are currently having an opportunity taken from them? I think you'd have a really hard time finding two guys, either of which should be in the future looked back on and recognized as champions. That division right now, aside from Josh Hockett, is terrible.